John McCabe from the Irish Grassland Association. I'm here with Kevin Twomey, who is hosting the Dairy Summer Tour on the 23rd of July. So thanks for having us, Kevin.
You're more than welcome.
We were just actually walking the route, picking the route for the Dairy Summer Tour in July with the organising committee, and we noticed we were passing the field of calves here, and we noticed something just a bit interesting. So we said we'd take a short video just to see what's your process around calves, turning out calves, Kevin. We didn't see any evidence of a trough for meal.
So these are on no ration at the moment. So the process, I suppose, if you go back, is roughly we turn out calves at 3 weeks of age, really. So that's probably the big difference we do. And once they're turned out to grass, we don't give them ration typically outside until they come towards weaning. So there's about a month where they get no ration. So they're just getting 5 litres of milk once a day. And then at week 8 we reintroduce the meal trucks and ration. We have the milk, so they go from 5 down to 2.5 litres of milk, and within a week we'll wean them off fully, and they'll be eating about 1 kilo ration on roughly when they're weaned, and they will get grass and ration for about another 10 days, and then they're after ration as grass only.
No setbacks?
So no, we get very little setbacks. So with once a day calves, they tend to be a bit leaner anyway, so because they tend to probably digest the milk pretty quick in the morning, and in the afternoons they actually are grazing quite a lot. So we found when we had ration in the fields, they were sticking around the trucks all day and not grazing. So what we found is if week 6, about 6 weeks of age, we move them to new pastures and get them nice grass, and they're into the grazing routine, and we cut back the milk, and their ration comes up a little bit because now they're eating a bit of intake, but their grass diet is increasing. So the transition is very smooth. You know, they're used to eating grass. There's no big change in diet really from them, and away they go.
Right.
You know, so it's very simple.
And they would they eat 1 kilo within a week?
Within a week or 10 days, yeah.
Okay.
Because they're not doing anything in the afternoons, they'll come up and they'll eat away the ration pretty quick. So they'll start eating pretty quick when you give it to them. Yeah. But the key to it is to have really good grass. So keep moving them in the paddocks. So as they're weaned, they're going into new pasture again. Ideally into covers of about 800 to 1,000. And they're just licking them off, and we might be leader follower system with heifers or whatever. And that makes a big difference, is that they're new grass. And it's the big thing I find with calves, and even over the summer, is putting good quality grass in front of them. You don't need to feed ration. In fact, I would say it's a distraction for the calves and for the person.
To follow it on then into the summer, how often are you moving the calves then when they're
so typically
weaned?
Once we get to kind of probably 20th of May, we would be kind of expecting the calf to clean the paddock themselves. So into a cover of 1,000. Not easy to do it now if you have a small number of calves. It's a lot more difficult because you need very small paddock sizes, or you need to put up strip wires. But if you have a leader follower system, which we have in some blocks, we don't have in others, then the heifers can come in and whip it out. And you can go into slightly higher covers because they don't have to clean out. But calves, we would find calves will clean out pasture, particularly after first, because all them after grasses, we would expect them to graze it down to 0 and do their own work at that stage.
Are you moving them twice a week? Once a week?
Yeah, about twice a week. So ideally 3 to 4 days in a paddock, and they're moving them on. That's your best performance. And I tend to think what happens if you're feeding ration, you tend to leave the calves in the paddock a day longer, because you must move the trucks as well. And I think a lot of farmers do that. The calves actually stay in the paddock too long.
And water, setting up water in the next place.
Yeah.
Or waiting for someone to come home for the weekend to move them, maybe it might be another thing.
Well, it is, and it's a hassle moving trucks around the place.
If I come back to the calf stage here, and just looking behind us, the calves are out and they're flying it. Sure, it's been lovely weather the last while.
It has.
Not all springs are like that.
This is not a typical spring. I'd say I didn't get wet any morning. I've had calves this year, so it's been unreal. Yeah. So the only tip I would say about putting calves out early is windbreak. They need a shelter break. the rain they can tolerate, the cold they can tolerate, but the wind is not. They find it hard then to stay warm if they're out in the open. So you need a ditch around them. And we would have some paddocks where you'd have three good ditches in the field, and there's a wire at the other side. And you will want to keep an eye to move calves out of that field. If the wind is coming from that direction where the wire is, you need to move the calves. So being aware of that is very important. And calves don't need big high ditches. They're only less than a metre high, and they lie down, they're only a quarter metre high. So it's just about that shelter break from that, and a dry lie in against the bottom of a ditch. They're quite happy. So the only time we would go from once a day back to twice a day, if we get a sleety weather, so 2 or 3 days of real sleet cold weather, that's hard on them because it's cold and it's wet. So we go back and we give them 2 litres extra in the evening to make sure they have the energy to be able for it. So typically when they're out, they stay out. It's very, very rare we'd have to bring calves in.
Have you ever done it?
We get the odd calf with pneumonia, but very little now. Yeah, we've brought calves back in, and I've nearly always regretted it because they come into a really enclosed space which they're not used to at all, and they really find it hard, even though it might be only for a 24-hour period. We tend to get more pneumonia inside there when you do it than when you're not. So if you can move into a new field where there's no dry, good shelter, you're better off. Better off.
No, thanks, Kevin. Just thought it was really interesting. So you're a month old, basically. You switch it to once a day and they go out.
And they're on a milky bar feeder, so there's 50 calves in a batch, there's 60 teats on it. We drive into the field, they drink it, we do a figure of 8 on the way out to try and get the calves to run around after each other, and out the gap we go and onto the next paddock.
Right.
So all our calves are aired.
So it's once a day from about a month old. They go out and they're given no meal, and then at week 8 you introduce the trocks and meal.
That's right.
Once a day gets the intake of meal up.
So they get the ration up till they come out, and when they come out they come off it.
Very interesting. Thanks for that, Kevin.
Great stuff. So, thank you.